Hello, OTSL round 6 against David Leal. Before I start, I kindly request you to boycott the Paris Grand Slam if it is not played on 3rd, 4th July, and below the video you have a detailed description why am I asking you to do such a thing. My opponent isn't very strong, as you can see. Neither is my starting hand, but defectors allow mitigating any kind of bad luck for start. Conservative opening, I have Nasser, I will probably have to trigger it, although maybe it's holdable. Defectors for the obvious headline, all the other cards for ops, perhaps Suez Crisis for space race, maybe Truman for a hold if I can play NATO for some juicy break, but I have to take care of blockade as well, so Suez Crisis for space race quite late rather. Well, let's see. Oh, not really worth being defected, but well, this certainly isn't a strong headline, although many newbies think that this is a poor man's Marshall Plan equivalent. Well, maybe that it is, but there are no two stability countries in Eastern Europe. And yes, it's a poor man's. A good coup result from my opponent. And I don't really have good cards to counter coup, because I don't want to use NATO that early. And with other cards, the chance of fading is too high, and I can't afford fading this one. Not now, because it may cost me all the access to the Middle East if he counters my failed Iran coup with something like duck and cover to realign Israel, assuming he doesn't have Arab-Israeli war. So let's attempt to provoke him to coup Lebanon, which is counter-couable easier with what I have in hand. I don't expect it to be fast game, because such newbie players play rather slowly. He didn't coup, and it's not the worst response he could play. And okay, now Pakistan is worth some risk. Oh, and the roll was good enough, but it's still vulnerable to Indo-Pakistani war. However, even an Indo-Pakistani war can now be countered by direct taking Thailand. So no taking France now, because I don't have the firepower, but I can fight for Asia and maybe for Egypt. If he doesn't play Indo-Paki now, it's not too urgent to go to India. But it is urgent to stop his domination. At the end of the turn, it would be great to have one in India in case of Indo-Paki. to have a way back here. Okay, he had the scoring. It's also nice to secure Egypt, but it's not a time to go to Egypt yet due to DEFCON. Okay, so let's go here and secure Panama a little more, just to decrease his chance of wiping me off here. Asia scored for 0. Not the biggest deal ever in the Pakistani war now. Oh, he got rid of this. Distal and containment. Okay. It's worth knowing that I probably have containment. Of course, I don't want him to coup Lebanon. But now I can secure Egypt and hold Nasser and space Truman and get rid of Suez crisis almost for free. 1, 2. In which case, no. It's a nuisance. No good order. If he plays first, I have no access to Egypt. If I play first, the point in France is wasted, while it's worth. But I'll need UK anyway. Sooner or later I will. So, bad news is that CIA is gone, but okay. And bad news, he has distal. Still better get rid of this one. Blah. Not as good as I hoped. Maybe I can attack his hand with 5-year plan, and if I'm lucky, I grab distal from his hand. What else to headline? Duck and cover. These are the only two headlines that make sense. With Asia present, maybe US Japan would be nice. With such a hand, damn it. So many cards to avoid. Yeah, let's give it a chance. Okay, good enough. I'd rather draw distal, but this is good enough. And this is even better enough. That was very lucky that he actually missed this war. And well, I probably should take India, at least India, this turn. So, decall for hold, Vietnam last action round, socialist space, or self-reparation, fiddle space, because it's pointless to give it to him. Maybe I'm able to hold the China card. Because Vietnam and socialist governments are both acceptable if I prepare for it good enough. Oh! This was terrible. And hurtful. Okay, US-Japan for realignments, but this should wait for distal, I think. So first, secure here. Maybe making him think that I have the scoring. And waste some time. And maybe I'll have to play the China card, not because I don't have playable cards, but because I need ops. Because socialist governments will have to repair itself. Maybe it's worth to hold decall and socialist governments to not have problems with it. It was a nice play, actually, because he knows I don't have independent reds, and that's a jump for distal. So I think I should put some pressure on him in Europe, because Europe hasn't been scored yet and he has to play the entire hand due to 5-year plan. Maybe if he doesn't have time to play distal for event, he will have to waste it for ops. No rush with socialist governments, regardless of play it, because of blockade. I didn't also see purge, but I don't think he's gonna purge me and then play blockade. Marshall Plan, yeah. But boosting these European countries would be worth. Next play probably the China card to boost Asia, because I want to eventually play Vietnam revolts. Oh, so he played distal, but he totally wasted it. And I mean it, he didn't gain meaningful access. One Algeria, one India would be somehow understandable, but completely ignoring South America was certainly a big blunder. And this is a blunder on the level of a very wrong mindset about Twilight Struggle. You have to be present everywhere. Algeria wasn't that important because decall is here, yes, he won't have decall, but the goal is going to come back and eventually give him access here. So the China card was almost enough to repair all the damage done by distal. So the priorities for the rest of the term: over-control France, to deny the goal plus duck and cover takeover, space Fidel, preferably next action round to be the first to space, over-control Thailand and perhaps play into Laos, Cambodia. So over-controlling France is done. No rush about it. Middle East, okay, if he wins Middle East, I have to live with this. One more country. In Europe. If he takes in Europe, he really needn't have to do this, but he could have earned 2 victory points, so why not? Okay, let Truman come back, and let's not allow him grab Greece. This should make it somewhat difficult for him to prevent European domination unless some combo. In headline, so holding socialist governments is okay, no longer an option. But this was a nice play of blockade in general. I got Middle East scoring, and Middle East can't get better. I got in general terrible hand, because it's very low ops and he has Red Scare Purge. But let's start from Middle East scoring, because it can't get better. The bad news is that I got both scorings and he knows about it, and that he has the Cambridge 5. But the good news is he can't mess up with Europe. By playing Cambridge 5, I'm over-controlling all the battlegrounds. I have one more non-battleground than I need. So this is the main issue. But I have 1 scoring and 2 1-up cards. So this is gonna be effective 3 times, costing him 4 ops. Regretfully, I will have to play Nasser. But now that Middle East is scored and it's turn 3, it's actually not a very big deal, and Sadat will come to the rescue sooner or later. Plus I still hope to earn 5 points from Europe. But now it's his turn to decide whether he gives me Europe immediately or leaves me a coup. Sorry, or by coupping, or fights for Europe and leaves me a coup. Problem is, even if he plays the goal, I don't really have any good card to counter it. Now imagine he had blockade. Now this would be a crippling blow with Red Scare. He doesn't have to worry about Milops because he has Korean War. Ooh. It's very good that I have actually scored Middle East in the headline, because it's going to get only worse in time. Ooh! But this was a very bad decision of him. He attacked India instead of Pakistan, which offered twice as much chance of winning it. Okay, he rolled a 2. He would have lost this war regardless of the target, but still, this one extra influence is meaningless compared to the fact that here the winning chance is 1/3 and here it's only 1/6. And in both cases, after winning the war, he over-controls very strongly a particular country. Oh! Oh well. Things that just happen. Now the problem is I can't fight against his possible breaks. So I have to over-control India and in general all the Asian battlegrounds, because if he starts Ops War with the China card, I don't have a response. However, it's Angola and Zaire time this turn. No spacing. I'm giving him Arab-Israeli war, eventually, hoping he doesn't roll a 6. I'm giving him Nasser, so Arab-Israeli war before Nasser. And playing Warsaw Pact, probably last best one. I want to hold Truman in case I need it very soon. Of course not hold until turn 4, because this is reserved for decall. So his main blunder so far was about wasting distal. Apart from that, he played several, let's say, inaccuracies. Okay, this suggests very strongly that we are fighting for Asia this turn. So maybe Angola can wait. Okay, this was lucky enough. So let's hold Warsaw Pact in case I need 2 ops in a single play. For example, to repair India or Thailand after he puts 3 there with the China card. Of course, if he really has Asia and wants to save it, he should eventually take Japan. But he doesn't. So it looks like he has Asia. So the question remains, am I able to stop him? If he has a playable 3-op, I'm not. The pain of purge. But still, it shows that it was a good decision to over-control India. And that I couldn't really do more than that, because what I'm playing now is my only card worth more than 1 op this turn. Ooh, I forgot this one. Okay. So last action round, so at least no worry about him dominating Asia now and scoring it. Which gives me an option to take both Angola and Zaire. Well, I think I have a bad luck so far for ops, but he's not making the best use of it. So, no, it's just scoring. Okay, I got Asia scoring now and Central America scoring. Shuttle diplomacy could come for the rescue, but I don't need such a rescue in Asia. So, Ussuri for headline, and then if he allows me, if he coups, I score domination in Asia. If he repairs Asia, I can fight for it with the China card or coup Panama with shuttle diplomacy, and later use some cards to take Malaysia or Philippines. Then puppet governments to Venezuela and Nigeria and maybe Algeria, Argentina. Not many ups yet another time, but this hand is promising anyway. At least it's good to create crisis, and it's a sort of crisis not very easily solvable, especially on a low level of mindset. My opponent, with all the due respect, is not the greatest player I've ever met. And the situation he is put in now is also not the best one. Arms race influence. Okay, but he doesn't have the China card, so... Yeah, the problem is, if he ignores DEFCON, he puts me in the same situation. But now, ignoring DEFCON is double-sided, because of Colombia. My problem in turn is that I don't have good cards to coup Colombia. Shuttle diplomacy for the rescue and for the hope to roll high enough that so that it takes him 2 action rounds to actually regain Colombia. If not, I have to score Asia anyway, and then use the China card or puppets and China card to fight for Americas and yeah. Ooh. Whew. He's not lucky rolling, but he really should have attacked Thailand. So it was a mindset mistake again, but without great consequences, negative consequences, I mean, for him. So that's the obvious defense. 1, 2. Yeah, 3. I can live with giving up Central America. If I get solid position in South America in return. And defend Africa. Which he luckily had, so. In the last action round, of course, spacing something, I cast decall. The remaining scoring, South America and Southeast Asia. So in case of Kennedy, AR7, I can only discard 1 card to avoid losing to holding scoring card. But that's funny that as early as on turn 4 we have only 2 scorings remaining for the next at least 2 turns. I remind you that I'd like you to read carefully the description under this video, because this is very important for me. Read it, think about it, maybe comment on it in some supporting way. Decall for space race. Decall better than Liberation Theology because he knows about decall in my hand. Missile Envy, Southeast Asia. Is Missile Envy worth risking? It's not. So what else can I headline? Let it be Latin American Death Squads, because I feel Alliance for Progress can get better than this. Muslim Revolution hurts somewhat because I don't have a way back here. But if I can score Southeast Asia meaningfully, it's worth. So, assuming he's cooing successfully, I'm mostly scared about his cooing Argentina or Brazil. With Brazil he gets access to Venezuela, with Argentina to Chile. If he coos Brazil successfully, I have to take Venezuela and over-control Thailand because he has the China card. With Argentina, I can't really do much, but I still should control Venezuela. Oh, he did it eventually. Okay, this is a mistake on the mindset level, assuming he really didn't have good cards to play. I'm thinking about Quagmire, because if I play it on myself, I discard Libtiol, Fidel, Muslim Revolution, and that's it. Otherwise, I can space only 1, hold 1, so I have to bite the bullet and play on myself at least Liberation Theology or Fidel, and Allende, which I really want to hold because South America hasn't been scored. He did it, but I'm still dominating here, so I can take my time and secure Southeast Asian position. Liberation theology or Fidel? Fidel looks less evil, but liberation theology may persuade him into playing to Cuba, after which Fidel looks slightly wasteful. I'd really like to have Kennedy in a moment like this. Okay, so Allende will be a free play, although I probably won't score meaningfully in South America. He's just equalizing it. But after all the scoring's gone, I'm gonna lead by several points, maybe even 7, because well, I don't really have to lose any mill-ups here. Probably Allende to coup Cameroon. I don't like the fact that he may just break Nigeria, but okay, Southeast Asia is the priority. Now let's think about this quagmire. I hate quagmiring myself because it's so vulnerable to bad rolls. Uruguay. Okay. Had I known, I could have could Uruguay regaining control there. Would be meaningless, but still funny. On the other hand, I should have just scored Southeast Asia. Okay, so all the scorings are gone now. So this is gonna start being about mitigating bad events. Oh, if I succeed on first attempt to space race, I may even space twice. Maybe it's worth even giving up this one victory point for the remaining mill-up. Excuse me for a moment. I'm back. Lesson to learn so far. Never assume that a 500 and more difference of rating points in play deck is gonna win the game by itself. Okay, my opponent isn't really playing very great moves. He blunders several times, but with some amount of good luck, which he has from time to time, he is really able to set a decent position and establish it for quite a time, as he's doing now. Quagmire, yeah, let's paste this one successfully. Assuming he doesn't space now, I'm gonna space again, and this is gonna be Quagmire. Arab-Israeli war is here, so I think I can even take Israel with Muslim revolution. The main problem is that Israel is expensive. On the other hand, where else should I play? Israel, Cuba and Japan are the only battlegrounds not occupied yet, not controlled yet. Oh, sorry, South Africa. Yeah, South Africa. Far better, okay. Far better target than those mentioned so far. Of course, Costa Rica play is a blunder. It's not worth controlling just for ops. If he was there just because of good Cheku, okay. But now, especially that I have access to Nicaragua was certainly a better play. I don't like leaving this place just empty. So okay, let's agree to temporarily allow him dominating Central America, maybe controlling after he coups Mexico successfully. So, no scorings. Ask not. This is a good hand. Not a rich one, but a good one. Will bury you is gone. So I think I may safely headline duck and cover. He may have junta, he may have ABM treaty, but I can't help any of them. What else can I headline? Ask not is pointless because I don't really have too many cards to discard. Voice of America, nah. He can't discard any card from my hand. So that I have to do it. He can't do it anyway, I guess. Cuban Missile Crisis Summit? Too risky. I don't even have +1, it's at 0. So let it be duck and cover. Against Long Gunman, it was a really good call. So Ask Not is the obvious hold candidate. The Voice of America has to go to the reshuffle. Sadly, so is Muslim Revolution. Because it's really nice to hold the China card as well, since he's the one who may have grain sales now. Maybe he has Pope. When given chance, I should space the goal, probably, before he does it. I'm not sure about OAS. If I use it for the event, he may easily repair it. If I keep it in the deck, it may return with higher impact. Bad news for me, possible bad news for me, are South African unrest, Portuguese empire crumbles. OPEC, Che. I'm not sure about others. Yeah, degrading Defcon against Long Gunman was a really good call, and +9 is quite a decent score already. Plus, eventing Long Gunman almost eliminates the option of Defcon loss for me. Oh, in the meantime, I see that Italy has just scored and leads by 2-0 against Switzerland in European Championship. I didn't see this goal, but I have the television playing muted, but oh, what a shot that is. It's muted, but I can see it, so I know. Just looked at the TV for a moment instead of the computer, especially that I can't hear my opponent moving. After the first round of Euro 2020, I think that the championship is going to go to either France or Belgium. Belgium played visually better than France, but had a weaker opponent, so this may be misleading somehow. These two teams, however, had shown the best football among all the teams. The worst football was shown by Poland, Russia and Scotland. And Turkey today in the second round. Speaking of Euro, my opponent is Portuguese. Portugal showed an acceptable football, although I'm not convinced about their victory against Hungary. Yes, it was 3-0. But had the match lasted 80 minutes instead of 90, it would be 0-0. And playing just for making the opponent tired is not the way of winning championships. Even Greece winning Euro in 2004 wasn't playing just for making the opponent tired. It was just a great defense. Wow, Cuba. Okay. I didn't like this Cuba move. This Angola move, I think it was even worse, because he has events here. This Cuba move was against Cuban Missile Crisis, but now I'm not gonna play it. He has events here, and Nigeria was certainly a superior choice. He may try realigning me off here, and I have to accept this risk. But other than that, whoa. It looked just wasteful. Okay, let's space now and just wait for him to show his next ideas. I think I'll eventually put one in Israel to be able to regain Egypt after Muslim Revolution, but before I do it, I'd like to see where Camp David is. to be honest, I don't really have good use for ops. Now all the battlegrounds except Israel are taken on the map. And I don't have two good realignment targets. And he does have strong cards. Maybe I should have over-controlled Nigeria. Okay, I think it's now a good time to go here, and maybe not with a summit. I need 2 meal-ups anyway, so let's increase the chance of succeeding. Whew. That was exactly what I was thinking about, because now I have 2 very good realignment targets here. And I still have the Voice of America for the rescue, if this fails. And I can repeat queuing with Summit or even OAS, which is not really useful as an event now. UN intervening NORAD. So you don't really... And he dared queuing Cameroon instead of Saharan states. So I assume he doesn't have grain sales. Or he wants to space it and he just saved 1 op, which would be nice. In which case he doesn't have Pope and Camp David, or he's accepting the drawbacks of these cards. The same can be said about colonial rearguards. Kennedy suddenly becomes even more meaningful because it's important to be able to discard unwanted scorings, and more to the point, there's no turn 7 reshuffle probably. 17 cards to be drawn. Gets 9. He gets 9. He played you an intervention. So it depends on me whether it's gonna be a reshuffle or not. So now there's a moment to think. The reshuffle or not? This is not an easy question. What can I do about... I certainly want the Voice of America to go to the reshuffle. No reshuffle means I'm playing the China card. And I think holding the China card is a better option. Let's set up some realignments options. I'm not gonna trigger realignments really. Because I don't have good cards to do it. OAS is only 1 up. Ask Not is hold. Voice of America is an event, and Muslim should repair itself in Egypt. He is realigning, and he is realigning non-battlegrounds. Not the worst possible choice, but now it's an obvious play from my side. It's a free 2-op card, but it has to be played for ops, for influence placement, namely. I think he doesn't have Che. Otherwise, I think he would have could these two instead of realigning. OAS, I guess, for realignment in Cuba. And then the Voice of America as my AR7. That's actually very nice. And this still needs some attention. Just don't tell me you got stuck with grain sales to Soviets. In which case, UN intervening NORAD was a very huge blunder. Boo. So the Voice of America. Where does it make the most mess? Argentina? I could theoretically equalize Africa by taking 2 from Angola and 1 from Algeria, but still Portuguese Empire and South African unrest are somewhere there. So maybe Argentina, Syria, Costa Rica, and yeah, the 4th from Algeria to make it vulnerable or so. The most important thing is that it's left for AR7. Now that he knows about it, he may be somewhat paralyzed with this knowledge. Ooh. Okay. That was a clever play from him. I must admit I forgot about nuclear subs. And of course, whatever I play to make use of nuclear subs and coup any battleground is gonna be waste. So I simply have to accept the fact that I'm wasting the event. So I think that's the best usage. I got Junta and he has grain sales. I also control OPEC, but first things first. I'm close to both victory on points and victory on DEFCON. I got 4 red events. I don't like any of them, but I still think holding Ask Not is the best call now. OPEC is the worst of among them. South African unrest is self-reparable. Willy Brandt is only slightly annoying, and Che causes South America being non-dominated by me, but Che may wait until he shows his intentions. Maybe it's irrelevant to fight for South America, and maybe it's quite easy to establish domination there by some other means. Either he's desperate or it was his yet another mistake. Actually, let's break here and attempt to coup here to attack 2 places at once. Okay, I rolled slightly too few and he may now take both at once. Let's see what he does. +1, +3, -3, it's 0, -3, it's -3, +1, +1. Now it's -1 for kitchen debates, and it's volatile in his favor, so I guess kitchen debates are unplayable for an event. Now it's -1, so -2, -3 I assume, and this is -2, and that's all I can do. Maybe here I can do -1 with the China card, but then South African unrest is a problem, and he still has Portuguese Empire crumbles. Okay. Kitchen debates are unplayable. He has sold negotiations, it's worth knowing and noting. I have no particular idea of what to do. But I think this is the best chance to realign Algeria, and this is the best card to do it. I have to play it anyway, sooner or later. So in the next action round, how I learned to stop worrying. Taking Algeria and Africa is mitigated to some extent. Not a very big one, but enough so that flipping one battleground makes it safe. Don't play Che too early, at least not before playing OPEC, because I don't want him to be able to trigger OPEC with missile envy or to grab Kennedy with missile envy. He dominated 2 regions now, but I really couldn't help either of them. Kitchen debates for... Ooh, yes, he had this one. Oh. This hurts. Okay. No more fighting there. Let's play the event. I need meal-ups. And I think South African unrest for meal-ups. South Africa is my last battleground in Africa. So 1 meal-ups from kitchen debates, but the other one may be a problem. So chair, but I don't really want to activate chair. Okay, certainly Kennedy for the rescue, because there are 3 potential scorings I want to avoid. Central America is acceptable. Middle East slightly less acceptable. Africa is as much as 6. Two regions score in my favor. On the map, it's 3 points in his favor. Not bad, because I have the China card and I have 12 points here. Still not something allowing me to feel comfortable here. It would be great to space OPEC and succeed to be able to see his headlines. Tunisia. Quite a good choice, because this was still vulnerable to some realignments. Okay. Let's check the outcome here. Failed. Damn it. Kitchen debates against Haiti succeed, and he doesn't really respond meaningfully. I will play chair, but use ops before the event to realign Cuba at +2 rather than to let it be non-realigned. I forgot about 5-year plan. Should have remembered it. Ooh, so he doesn't have my scorings. Oh, he does have it, but he also has grind size and probably some... He may have it, but he may have grind size and something else that can suicidal like that and cover. It's a weird game. I'm playing it against, I guess, the lowest rated opponent I've played recently, with the lowest motivation I've had recently, because I just lost motivation to play Twilight Struggle after this all Grand Slam stuff about which you can read in the description of the current video. I wonder what his decision is. Expected and probably the best. Yeah, 1 here and 2 in Botswana would make it a meaningful realignment target. But with grain sales in hand, it's not really too flexible for realignments, maybe. Well, if he has grain sales and something else, committed to Afghan suicide by spacing 5-year plan. On the other hand, probably had no choice in such a case. So the question is, what do you have except grain sales? My friend. And should I remember it or not? I must say I didn't really put too much attention on what was played and what wasn't, because yeah, from psychological point of view, I can't really ignore completely the fact that my opponent is so much lower rated than me, and to some extent I play like I didn't really care about it. Oh yes, bear trap. A bear trap. So you're bear trapping yourself on AR7, to which I may respond with Che. You have 2 coups, and I have 3 ops, knowing that I'll be the first to play in the next turn, unless you play the quagmire. An interesting perspective. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, queuing Columbia with a bear trap, knowing that I have Che, was certainly not something. If you have to play a card like bear trap, you should really play aggressively. off topic. It's June the 16th. Tomorrow my daughter has birthday. She turns 12 and I'm very happy about it. And it's nothing to do about Twilight Struggle, but I just wanted to share this news with you, my viewers and supporters, and tell you that I'm happy about my daughter, who actually sometimes supports me in Twilight Struggle. Okay, so here it comes, an unwanted scoring. With the support of Mr. Kennedy. And with no really good candidates for headline. But I think Owax does the job. Then cooing, then arms race. He had the quagmire. He drew it right now. That's really something. So this game is far from over still. It really depends on the rolls. I have 2 cards to discard. He succeeded on his first attempt. So did I. But I think I can no longer capitalize arms race, although maybe I can take him in and be able to do it eventually. In Africa, even a successful coup doesn't stop him dominating. So Mr. Kennedy is gonna work anyway with Pershing Africa. And maybe even Truman, because I'm not gonna use the event. And as I'm not gonna use the event, it's not a good hold card. What is a good hold card? I think arms race. This is an option for 3 points under some circumstances. I think it might be game-changing that he got this quagmire right at this moment. Okay, that's very acceptable. In return, Deco goes to space. Still unlucky. He would like to roll a 5 like I did. I would like to roll a 3 like he did. But maybe he has Asia scoring. Of course, Regan goes for event, because I prefer 1 victory point to 2 ops now. Although, maybe I can play nuclear test ban into Libya, tricking him into putting more points here. Then Reagan and then Latin American death squads for some coup to save victory points from military operations. Maybe let's start from this coup. Okay. He started from the cooing. Cześć. Let's start from cooing. Could Colombia. This doesn't change anything in this region. Cameroon, just to set up realignment option in Nigeria. Good enough. I have mill-ops. So the plan for the remaining action rounds is nuclear test ban into Libya and then Reagan bombs Libya. With nuclear test ban I need only 2 in Libya, so the third one may be used elsewhere, maybe in Israel, to tempt him even more to play in Libya. Whether he has 4 or 5 there doesn't matter for Reagan. And man, he really needed this 90 minutes, because 60 would not be enough, as you can see. And well, the game is very far from being over yet. I have a certain advantage and almost 0 downside risk of losing via DEFCON, but still some very unlucky coincidence may be at least tricky. Okay, he got rid of terrorism, so even Aldrich aims at concerters can't really do much harm to me. But if I draw the unwanted scorings and very bad cards, and he doesn't, we may go to the final scoring and we may go there with the score close to equal. And then, who can tell what happens? Okay, my trick worked and earned me just 1 more victory point via Reagan. Now that's a tricky hand. I mean, there are so literally every card except arms race, which is not red, is a good headline candidate. Literally none of them is a great headline candidate. Okay, let's go for a combo. Cuban Missile Crisis, then Brush War, then Arms Race. The scoring 4 points for him, so this won't bring me an instant victory. I could have headlined Brush War, okay, but who could know. Ortega is a safe play, Brezhnev is a safe AR7. Defectors for a hold, provided I'm not in a must of holding any other card. No good space race candidates, so maybe I can even space Ortega, because if I hold defectors until turn 10, it would be quite useful to know what's he gonna headline. For Brush War targets now, for the final scoring, with this advantage I'm quite safe for the final scoring, so the main goal is to establish the advantage. But if I flip Libya, it's not enough. So, of the unscored regions, South America offers the best odds. However, I don't control any non-battlegrounder. So, I should probably start with Muslim Revolution to Israel and Paraguay, so that either flipping Libya or flipping Argentina changes the region of at least a domination, and then I can decide what am I doing. Just 1 minute is quite enough. He has much more than just 1 minute. This is an example of a hand which is easily wasted because there are multiple cards that may bring either victory points or operation points. It's not really clear what is more important here. I think it's hard to count on auto victory before the final scoring. I can still count on war games, however. Plus a brush war plus arms race maybe decisive about winning this game or not before the final scoring. If I get Asia or Europe, so he failed. It's now tempting to space Ortega, but let's follow the previous plan. Libya looks a better target because it offers better brush war odds. The odds aren't very crucial. I don't really need victorious brush war. I mainly need mill-ups. I can also take Angola and attempt on Zaire, but there are still some African events in the deck, like for example Portuguese Empire crumbles, and I have already accepted the fact that Africa is lost. So let's now focus on the regions non-scored yet, Middle East and South America. There's no good hold card candidates, so I can even accept Latin American debt crisis and discard a card like Brezhnev Doctrine. Of course, this is all moot due to the situation on the board and due to the level of the opponent. But against a strong opponent and a closer situation, it would be a very nice hand to show how good you really are. Of course, military operations should not bring me any points at the end of the turn, because he can and should eventually cancel the Cuban Missile Crisis and coup somewhere. And man, he has targets. Okay, actually he has 3 only. 4. Well, but that's more than enough. I just hope he's not gonna lose this game on time. Okay, no more war games. And actually no more Iron Lady points, but no option of leaving South America undefended when it's the only region to be scored except Middle East. and 2 regions scoring in my favor. That may be a swing state. Maybe I'm not ready to sacrifice the China card to defend it, but I'm certainly ready to sacrifice arms race or to play Brezhnev doctrine before AR7 to defend it, if necessary. Actually, with Cuban Missile Crisis active, arms race is better than brush war, so if I need 3 ops, brush war should go first. Without activating the event. And then Arab-Israeli war for a coup. If he counter coups, arms race instead of defectors for a hold card. Okay, that's more than clear. So, have I read you correctly? Are you going to play Latin American debt crisis on me now? Yeah, my big plans. Suddenly I'm getting short in action rounds remaining. Yeah, that was a one good reason to space Ortega earlier. But there was no time. The only moment when I had time was AR1, but I still think my Muslim Revolution play was justified. Actually, his play into Brazil may be provoked by the pure fact that I controlled Paraguay with Muslim Revolution. This would be somewhat insulting. I mean, if I had South America scoring, this way of controlling Paraguay would be a very newbie way to fight for South America, especially that I could have scored it just like this for 0, and he shouldn't know that I have any options of fighting for more here. On the other hand, he is a newbie himself, so maybe he's unable to think other way than newbies do. And the only variations he calculates are some like this. Okay. Is OPEC coming? I don't believe it, but let's assume I'm tricked into it. And I rolled a 1, and I think it's fair assuming, remembering how badly he rolled when he played the war cards. The war events were played, I think, 6 or 7 times in this game, and none of them had ever succeeded. This is ridiculous to some point. Okay, Middle East is lost, but only for 4 points. And OPEC gives him 5 now, and I can't really help it. It's been a long time since I've seen Gulf states controlled. Last time. And the funny thing is that the last time when I saw Gulf states controlled, it was controlled by the USA. Which is ridiculous by itself, and as far as I remember, it didn't really make sense in that particular situation. Well, now it makes sense to some point, assuming OPEC is triggered, because assuming it's not, it's just 3 ops into 1 non-battleground in Middle East, not changing anything, because after failing Brush War, there's no way I'm regaining Middle East. Maybe except some Voice of America. Oh. Yuri and Samantha certainly. And yeah, I don't need any more scorings here, because the final scoring is quite safe, assuming nothing ridiculous happens here. Besides, South America is volatile in a way that it may turn rather into his favor than mine, mostly due to his battleground coup in Air 1 turn 10. So Brezhnev probably Canada to avoid wasting NORAD completely. I see what you almost did there. Okay, let's take this risk. Yes. I rolled a 1. Not a big risk actually. What I risked was 2 ops. At this stage of the game, it's not a very big risk. What I gained is seeing his headline on the very last turn of the game, while I have defectors. So Brezhnev doctrine to Canada, and that's a very good question. There really aren't very good targets otherwise. He over-controls Central American non-battlegrounds. Yeah, let's pick anything. South American non-battlegrounds in Africa, there's pointless to fight. In Middle East he doesn't over-control any country, but he has too many to fight for anything. Since Ortega is spaced, I think this is the very best call. Okay, Europe scoring is a great news. With We Will Bury You, UN intervention is a great news as well. Solidarity, Solidarity, maybe. After all, it changes Europe to 6. Maybe I can win it before the final scoring. If he plays older chimes, of course, I trigger the scoring, but otherwise, Actually, it's not clear about final scoring. I may be forced to space, and then it's 50-50. But if I'm not, solidarity may be the hope for winning via Europe. If I play it, he has the choice between cooing and repairing Poland. If he repairs Poland, of course I coup. And then, oh, he's gaining 3 more ops, 3 more victory points. Let's assume he doesn't. I don't want him to. Of course, there's absolutely no risk of losing this game via DEFCON on my side, and I may still win it via victory points if I succeed in spacing. A thing I should take into account is to avoid spacing Cultural Revolution, because if I do it, he may play all the chains on me and discard you an intervention, in which case I must play the China card and I'm vulnerable to any discarders from my hand. Okay, Latin American debt crisis always allows me discarding We Will Bury You. But I really like to win this game before the final scoring. So I activated NORAD, and I actually have no very good targets for NORAD. I think if he coups, I'm gonna target Poland and then play Solidarity. Just checking his hand. One more way to win this game before the final scoring is the clock. I would say he's playing ridiculously slowly, but he's actually playing accordingly to how fast or how slow do the newbies usually play. And he has the stats as if he was a newbie, and he plays quite good as for a newbie. And he isn't cooing. If he isn't cooing, I may play this one, assuming he's gonna repair Poland, after which I can play We Will Bury You into Poland and then play UN Intervened Cultural Revolution, fighting still for Poland and avoiding We Will Bury You penalty. And We Will Bury You is actually a 5 points card due to NORAD. Okay, no Poland. So let's try to equalize Middle East. A 5-point card, as I said. If I UN intervene Cultural Revolution, I'll have to play the China card, otherwise I'm gonna lose South America. Maybe I can UN intervene Latin American debt crisis. Of course, he may now play Aldrich Ames on me and discard UN intervention from my hand. On the other hand, Europe scoring is more changing than UN intervention. I think I'll UN intervene Latin American debt crisis because it's unspaceable and Cultural Revolution is spaceable. All these things I'm telling now are probably meaningless, because I am going to win this game on the final scoring, but it's still quite funny to think about it this way. He's dominating more regions than me, and it's quite constant, but I'm dominating the more important regions than he does, and the VP track is vastly superior in my favor. Yeah, I can still lose this game by playing Olympic Games for the event. Of course, I'm not going to try this one. Yeah, let's cash it now. So the plan for the remaining rounds. Space race attempt. If fails, take Libya and then coup. If I coup and he doesn't, I'm still winning on turn 10. Yet on the Billups checking phase. Okay, no more Billups checking phase. And no winning with a space race. He doesn't have Middle East scoring, of course, otherwise he'd score it so far. So I think the coup goes first to make the AR7 more flexible, and the coup goes for Bosnian resolution, because if he somehow increases DEFCON on turn on AR7, I'd like to have the option of playing Olympic Games for an event. These are details and these are meaningless for the final outcome of the game, but in some games such details can be decisive. So in games where these are not decisive, it's worth to train oneself to find them. How desperate he is to play moves like this one. I really wonder what he has left in his hand. No grain sales. Maybe duck and cover. Duck and cover and cow? Will be ridiculous to win this game on DEFCON at this stage of the game. If it's colonial rare cards, it's very well played by him about picking such an order of moving. Military operations gained. In Africa I have 4 against 5, it's fightable. Oh, Nixon and Asia. Okay. I really didn't see this coming. But well. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and please read the description of the video.